Hello to all, welcome back to another video on the scariest thing on this planet, algebra. Nah, I'm just kidding, it's not that scary at all. But today we are getting a little bit more complex than last week. Now, if I remember correctly, last week we introduced the concept of a variable. For anyone who doesn't remember and doesn't want to rewatch the last video, a variable is a letter or symbol that stands in for a number that we don't know the value of. Usually we use the letters x or y, and in the case of basic algebra, you really only need to worry about these two variables. Today, we're just going to go through complex single variable equations. Well, what does that mean? Well, all that means is that we'll only need to worry about x in this case. Let's take a look at something called a quadratic equation. X squared plus 5x plus 6 equals 0. This is called quadratic because the highest power x is 2. Now, don't run away, this isn't as scary as it looks, I promise. There is a solution to this and we can actually get it in only a few steps. Now, when we see that x is squared, the first thing you'll want to do every time is to try factoring. You might have actually done factoring before. To factor, all we have to do is find two numbers that multiply to 6 in this case and add to 5. In this case, those two numbers are 3 and 2. Then separate the equation like this. Now we have two factors that multiply together to our original equation. Now we need the left side to equal 0, right? I imagine some of you are seeing where this is going already. Since we know that any number multiplied by 0 is 0, all we need to do is make one factor equal 0. So we separate these factors and set them equal to 0. Then, all we have to do is solve for x. But how do we do that? Well, if you remember from last week, all we have to do is get x by itself on one side. And remember, when you're doing this, that whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do for the other. Solving then for each of these factors, we get x equals -2 and -3. And yes, you might have noticed, that's two answers, and that's perfectly okay. If you look at the original equation, plugging in -2 or -3 for x both yield 0. And now you're one step closer to mastering algebra. Today, we talked about how you solve a quadratic equation through factoring. Next week, we're going to take a look at instances where factoring doesn't actually work out. Until next time, keep on learning.